Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and at a time like this, it seems apt that at the end of Boris Johnson's journey, I'd like to discuss the realities that have hit him and are causing his downfall as we speak, because he used ideology in order to gain power, albeit it's not his own ideology, so very much borrowed, but that same ideology is very toxic in politics and it has now poisoned him. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So this was really prompted by a piece I was reading, then some other people talking about something similar as well, about Boris Johnson's impossible mission of holding together various ideological factions within his party, all with competing demands. Because here's the thing about ideology, they all stink. They represent a narrow range of views that the holders of that ideology try and impose on everyone. Sometimes, they can carry you to power, but once there, they are just toxic. They can't work. You will alienate so many more people. And this is because on your path to power, you will promise to do things, and they will sound marvellous. No party elections manifesto paints a picture of doom and gloom. They all offer a bright future where everybody wins. One party will win, and the prize is to put that manifesto into operation. You are then put to the test, at which point the leadership has a choice. Compromise and make sure that everybody, or at least a majority, make some gains, get some benefit, but you will still disappoint them to a certain extent. At which point you are governing well enough to maintain general public approval. No one will be entirely happy with you, but no one will be really annoyed either. Or you can forge ahead with your ideology. You will please the narrow section of society that approves of or gains from your ideology, but you piss off everyone else. You may even piss off the first group if you make a mess of it, because there's an element of competence at work as well. This is cold, hard political reality, and it is now causing Johnson's downfall. He promised things with Brexit that were impossible to deliver. Because he promised mutually exclusive things, he promised full control over trade policy, but also comprehensive trade deals around the world, free trade agreements around the world. But a trade deal, particularly a free trade agreement, requires a payment of independence. You have to agree to someone else's rules. Sure, you may also get them to agree to some of yours in return as well. It's binding on both sides and requires sacrifices on both sides. But that's not what Brexit was going to be. It was going to be free trade without having to follow the rules that are needed for free trade. And it's been said before that COVID emergency has been a dry run for many aspects of Brexit. And it's also exposed the impossibility of reconciling ideology with power. At the start of the crisis, Boris Johnson did with coronavirus exactly what he has done with Brexit. He advocated the unchecked spread of the virus. Let's all just catch it, get immunity and carry on with our lives. No need to shut down parts of our economy or change our behaviour in any way. That way you pleased everybody. The people who didn't want the government to be interfering in their lives, pleased them. They didn't want to wear a face mask. They didn't want businesses having to change rules or anything like that. They didn't want all that. But also, a load of people didn't want to die. Well, they thought they were going to get away with it as well. Oh, we'll just catch it and then become immune to it. Oh, that'd be brilliant. Yeah, well, why didn't we think of that? It was months, absolutely months, before face masks in even a small number of settings were made mandatory. And this was fine for Johnson to begin with. Like I said, he was promising we could have our cake and eat it, just as he continues to do with Brexit. But then reality set in. Letting the virus run riot was going to kill people. The Prime Minister was told it was going to kill a lot of people. Reality, and one that ideology was never going to work for, now he couldn't give everyone what they wanted. It was not possible. The Libertarians wanted to carry on as if the pandemic didn't even exist, but that meant hundreds of thousands of deaths. The bulk of the population wanted measures to control the virus, but that meant Libertarians being told what to do. You've got to put a bit of cloth over your face when you go shopping for a few minutes. What was worse is that workers needed financial compensation. But that meant giving public money to people that needed it instead of the millionaires. So which group did Johnson side with? None of them. He couldn't afford to move away from any one group to another because no one group was large enough to keep him in power. He didn't have enough support from any one group. Such is the nature of power. But he also couldn't please all groups either. So he chose to piss off each group by just a little bit, just what he thought he could get away with. He kept telling them that salvation was just around the corner. This worked on both groups. The groups who didn't want to die, it's like, you're going to stop dying quite soon because we're going to bring out this thing and it'll be brilliant. But the people who didn't want to do anything like social distance or wear face masks or not go on holiday, he would tell them, but once we've done this thing, we've controlled the virus, then you'll be able to just live as normal. We'll go back to normal, be fine. You know, you just have to do it for a few more weeks and it'll all be grand. He's still saying it now. Well, over half a year later, just a few more weeks, just a little push. We just need that last little push. Just behave and it's all fine. You know, and now we've got these unenviable world-leading figures on mortality and economic damage. And because the measures announced weren't actually enough to gain control over the virus, just enough to prevent it spiraling out of control. In this way, he thinks he's done just enough to keep all groups on side. Brexit will present a similar situation for the Prime Minister next year. At the moment, we're still in that phase where the emergency hasn't hit yet. Brexit hasn't actually happened yet. But this time with Brexit, it's one that the scientists can't come and save his bacon. In fact, the scientists will be buggering off because they won't be able to get any funding. International work will come to an end. Brexit will switch from being a purely political problem to a real economic one, but one that will still need a practical solution. He won't just be able to keep a lid on it until a solution presents itself. He won't be able to just say, let's just hold on because the scientists are going to come up with something. No, that's not going to happen. And the two groups in this case, you know, will be those who don't want to agree any more cooperation with the EU and those who recognise the need, if not the desire, to do so. People will want jobs. The country will need trade. There isn't going to be a US trade deal anytime soon. Biden has completely ruled it out. And not just due to Brexit. He's ruled out signing any trade deals with anyone in the near future. Johnson may wish to pursue his Trans-Pacific fantasy, but there is no way of even coming close to compensating for the economic harm of Brexit without a comprehensive agreement with the EU. And I don't just mean a free trade agreement. You know, who knows? We may have that by the end of the year. Yeah, okay, it may be looking unlikely at the moment, but it's possible. We may even have it agreed in principle by the time this video comes out. Probably not, but we may do. Johnson will be unable to meet all of his promises. Brexit will be forced to disappoint many with whom he relies upon for support. Conservative MPs around the country will be facing angry constituents as more and more businesses struggle or even collapse due to the pressures of leaving the highly privileged membership of the EU. And, of course, easy access to the single market, which we could still have had even outside of membership. Some areas of the country will be so hard done by Brexit that their MPs will have no option but to demand action from the government. Fine. So the government will pursue a real deal with the EU, minus all the sovereignty crap that has been characterising the process so far. But then what about the ones who will still bang on about sovereignty and will represent areas who largely get away with the bulk of the Brexit damage, and so they're free to carry on this lunatic approach? They will not wish to see the government undo their damage. So an impossible situation. And you may think that, well, Johnson has faced this impossible situation with COVID and he's still in place. So why won't that be the case with Brexit? A few reasons. The main difference, though, is that COVID was always for a limited time. Brexit is intended to be forever, at least in terms of the Conservatives' intentions. As Brexit does its damage, it won't be possible to ask people to hold tight because the situation is going to ease in a short time. It won't. It will be for the long term unless the government change tack. The government actually have to do something. They've not really done very much with COVID. They have to do something with Brexit. And it's not immediately obvious what the hard Brexiteers will ask for. After all, their plan was to pursue the US trade deal. But that's gone. The soft Brexiteers will insist that the government get a deal. If we haven't got one before the transition period ends, then they will be much more vocal about one next year. And it makes no difference if Johnson is replaced even, because his successor will face the same problem. Their cowardice in backing down to the hardcore Eurosceptics, going back to David Cameron, was an attempt to avoid splitting the party. That's all it was. The nutters in the ERG threatened to split the party. But Europe has always been the one thing that splits the Conservative Party, and it always will be. Brexit will still split their party, just like it has split the country and split families up and down that country. There will be no way through this until their leaders begin to realise that they need to argue on pragmatic grounds instead of ideological ones. Because when you want practical solutions, not unicorns, then actually you suddenly start to see, oh, there are actually practical solutions out there. But there are never ideological ones. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.